Hey, how are you? Skip here again. I wanted to talk to you about another subject. We're on the financing thing and the money issue. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about ad budgets and marketing budgets and whatnot. I have been a lot of years, I couldn't tell you many, well, I can, probably 50 years in marketing and sales marketing, advertising, various things. And that's been my history. And I've seen it all. Man, I have seen it all. And I've had my own business. I know what the costs are. I know what P&Ls are. I know what all that stuff is. And we're in a different time. We're seeing, so many online sources now for products and everything from soup to nuts. Cars you can buy online. Who knew? There's so many things. There are so many things that you can buy online now. It's changing the whole landscape of the industry. A lot of businesses now are suffering going out of business. Now there needs to be a natural evolution and process here, but a lot of people are falling by the wayside. This is still, big picture wise, this is still an emerging trend. You want to get in on an emerging trend as early as you can, and that's the people who will make the most money, because the more people have fled the market, the more the competition, the harder it is to compete. So this is still a really good time to get into it and to do something really good and make some serious income, which is, I know that's what everybody wants to do, as long as it is providing the lifestyle you want, and that's not all you do in life. This is an emerging trend. Well, in that, start to learn some of the rules of the road. And the more you can learn, the more educated you become at this point, the more you lead, you become part of the leading edge of this trend. And if you're at the leading edge of this trend, you're also going to be at the leading edge of those who are actually making money, which is not a bad thing. So when you talk about advertising budgets, in a conventional brick and mortar business, you got a lot of expenses. You've got the building and all the expenses and tenant improvements and all of that. You got your fixtures, you've got inventories, you've got staffing. There's a ton of costs that you have in the process of creating a brick and mortar conventional business. Location, location, location. To get the right location, the better location, the more you spend for it, etc., etc., etc. Are you in a place where you're going to draw traffic automatically because you're relying on organic traffic to a great degree? And so then how much are you going to spend on your advertising? Well, the fact is that you got so many expenses that to be price competitive in a brick and mortar business, you've got to keep all your expenses low. So now all of a sudden, you've got all those expenses, and you got to get the word out, and you got to market. Well, it used to be that 8 to 10% of your budget is what you'd spend on marketing. That was typical. And now it's tough in a lot of businesses to even do that. And so you're drawing in fewer numbers. Because you have fewer numbers, if your percentages remain the same, you're making less money and you're struggling. And anybody that's ever owned a business knows what it is to struggle. And people think that because you own a business, you're sitting pretty. Tell you what, that's not the real world. There's businesses that do well, absolutely, and God bless them for those that do. But I tell you what, there's an awful lot of people that are struggling, and there's an awful lot of people that ultimately just succumb. They fall out. Well, now let's look at internet marketing. What the difference is here. When you're marketing online, everything changes. You're not maintaining a building. You're not relying on the best location in town, which increases your expenses. You're not doing tenant improvements. And if you're smart about this, and if you're involved in informational or educational products that can be accessed online, then you're not dealing with all the costs of inventory. This is kind of cool. If you don't have to buy a bunch of stuff and load up your shelves, that's great, because you always have waste, you always have breakage, you always have issues with that increase the overall costs. So now all of a sudden, when you get to the return on investment thing, as your investment goes higher, you have to have much of a higher return, and can you price yourself out of the market to where all of a sudden you can no longer be competitively priced, and you start to go backwards. Well, in online marketing, you don't have that. If you're smart about this and you're not having to buy inventory, which my favorite space is that which is digital access to the consumer. Well, if you've got that, you're not spending money on the inventory, you're not spending money on return, you're not worried about running out of product because it's all done and it's online, it's available. There's just a lot of benefits to online digital marketing. Now, in that, you can also spend more money on your marketing because you've eliminated all those other costs. You don't have a bunch of buildings, you don't have a bunch of staff. In fact, in affiliate marketing, what you have is a business, people who are selling a product, attracting those who are going to market or sell the product, and in many cases they're going to pay for the privilege to sell your product. And that for the person that's actually selling products online, not a bad position to be in. So now instead of hiring a staff and having all the expenses and whatnot associated with that and the headaches, you have people coming to you willing to pay for the opportunity to sell what you have. Different deal. That's not always the case. There's an awful lot of affiliate programs, so you don't have to pay anything. You can get in and become an affiliate marketer for free. But in that case, still, you are free labor to whatever that business is selling their product. Well, all of a sudden now the expenses change. So if you're the person now marketing, you're doing the marketing, if you're smart about this, you've got all these affiliates out there that are selling for you. You know, that's great. So now you're out there and you personally going to start a business online. Well, now because the costs in general are so low, it means your margins are different. So now if you're instead of selling $100 item and making 10%, because it's of all the other costs involved in conventional marketing, you can sell a $100 product and get maybe 20, 30, 40, 50%. Those are not uncommon percentages to receive for the privilege of selling that product. And the more you lean towards digital products where you don't have the physical concerns of shipping and handling and all of that, the more you lean in the other direction, well now the costs to the producer are minimal, so the margin's going to be much better. Now your return on investment starts to look a lot better. So you as the marketer now, you're going to go on, you're going to start a business, okay? And you're looking for, what's your budget going to be? Well, you don't need to spend more than 20% if you're doing it smart, but you don't want to spend any less. So if you want to make $10,000, spend $2,000. Boom. Now, that's given that you're marketing in a smart way. We talked about split testing and some other things you can do to make sure that your marketing is efficient. So if you're doing a good job of your marketing, you can do it on 20%. And I'll tell you what, you tell me, anybody, if you've got $2,000 in your pocket and you know that you can invest that in a marketing campaign or whatever, you can invest $2,000 and get $10,000 back, are you going to do it? I mean, come on. I mean, this is just, it's pretty basic math. And you're not always going to get that kind of return. But 20% is not an unreasonable amount to spend pushing towards your budget, what you're going to earn. So if you're smart about your finances, you'll do your homework, you'll do all the basics, you'll make sure that your marketing is efficient, and then you ride around 20% investment on your product. Now, you can, with that, it's easy to save 10%, put that aside. It's easy to save enough money to roll it over and scale your business. Because if you're smart about this, you're going to be taking, now here's what I would do, at least 20%, okay, so $10,000 a big number. That's how much money you're going to pull in. Well, if you spent 20%, you spent $2,000. Well, what if you take another $2,000 and roll that over to market? Well, guess what? You're going to perpetuate it. You're going to go, now you start to scale your business. And so as you scale now, all of a sudden you've got a little bit of money ahead, and now you put $3,000 in. Well, $3,000, you're going to scale it even more. And you can start to see how the bottom line starts to escalate. And pretty soon you're making more and more and more and more money, and you're doing really well. So that's just a little tip, something to think about when you start to run the numbers and understand what is reasonable. But now, again, when you're running campaigns, to say that you're spending $2,000 that is going to give you a particular return is ludicrous for me to suggest that that's absolutely true. There's too many variables here. The variables, of course, are you running a smart campaign? Are you addressing your target market, or how's that coming together? But a business who's on top of it, making good choices, can spend easily 20% and get a tremendous return on their investment. So that being said, and don't hold me to all the numbers, but you get the idea. I hope I've made an impression. So with that, I'm going to talk more about some other things in terms of some finances and how they're spent. But I wanted to tag that in there after I talked about some other things and expenses relative to split testing and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, with that, I'm still under 10 minutes, which is a miracle for me. And I've got some things I'm going to do and get about my day. But I hope you're well, and I hope we can connect at some point. You'll see, if you don't know, or the connection from my website, it's kipmcnutt.com. I'll put that in the notes. You may be getting this online, and so you're already in my website. So there's some links there to step-by-step instructions as to how you can build your business, considering all these variables, all the factors, and have a profitable business in the end to where these numbers are going to start to make sense. So I hope you are able to get the most advantage out of this. I have a partners and friends page. Go in there, make comments. I'm happy to give you some coaching and look at your individual circumstance, help you with it a little bit if I can. Hope we can get together, hope we can touch bases. And with that, have an awesome day, okay? And I'll see you again in another video. So, God bless. See you later. Thanks.